Good morning, everybody. I am Billy Graves. This is Slasher Sports' Morning Moneyline Monsters. Kind of covering the landscape of today's NBA slate. Going to have a few lean bets for you, a few props. The name of the game today, or this morning rather, is going to be to set the table. We want to just set the table with what we're looking at, what our angles are, what we plan to attack in case the lineups, the injury reports don't interfere. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we want to do on this one. So let's just go ahead and look at some of these games. Actually, we're going to look at all the games. Why wait, right? We want to look at all the games, see what they look like for, maybe our spreads, maybe our over-unders, maybe a few prop bets. Actually, I'm going to give you a main bet, and then I'm going to give you 2 to 3 prop bets that I like and I'll probably pull the trigger on. With that comes a caveat. What we need to do is we have to wait. I know that's the thing that we hate doing. We hate to wait for a bet to be placed. We see it, we like it, we want to place it. Well, over-unders, spreads, and even money lines, they are more dependent on a player sitting or a player playing than most other sports out there. In baseball, you got a 9-man lineup, unless we're talking about the pitcher. In football, you got an 11-man lineup. One guy's out, there's somebody to step up. In the NBA, like if your star player's out, that's sometimes more than 20% of your team. So what I ask you to do, bear with me here. We're going to give a lay of the land, and then throughout the day, we're going to post some updates. As lineups are confirmed, as injuries are confirmed, as scratches are confirmed, we're going to hit you back up. So what you have to do is set the notifications. Like, subscribe, leave some comments if you like. I want to hear your bets as well. I want to hear your leans. That's it. Oh, and by the way, Slasher Sports, come on. We're back. We're back from the dead, man. One of my very best friends in the world, Christian S. Rao, and I are finally gonna drag this cat back out of the bag and maybe bring some people along with us. This is a fun venture for both of us. We're hopeful that you'll come along with us and just enjoy the ride. We love sports. The horror film venture is, it's still out there, but this is all about sports. And if I'm going to be, making some wagers every day, I want to drop some knowledge. I want to get your opinions, and I want you to cash in when I cash in. That's the name of this game. So let's get after it. We got game number 1. The Bulls and the Hornets. The one part about this game that concerns me the most is probably Zach LaVine. He's a game time decision. Josh Giddey is also a game time decision. He doesn't move the needle quite as much as LaVine though. With LaVine out, it kind of takes away my leans. So the Bulls are favored 5.5. And there's 226.5 over under. 226.5 sounds fair. But the spread, maybe not so much. The Hornets are really bad right now. They're really bad. They're on a really bad rough stretch. So 5.5 seems a little light. But listen, with Josh Giddey possibly sitting and LaMelo probably sitting, he's still not back from that ankle injury. The Bulls are really going to lean heavy on Zach LaVine, and that's not debatable. They're going to lean heavy on him. Now, the Bulls do score, let's see, it looks like 114.8 points per game. The Hornets are 110.2. But the Bulls are just better on the road than even the Hornets are at home. Hornets are pretty bad at home. Not as bad as you might think. They're 8-12 at home. But recently, 3-7 over the last 10. Where the Bulls are really 6-4. Not much better, but twice as many wins, right? That's important. So my lean is -5.5 for the Bulls. I'll gladly take that. but it does depend on the injury reports. It depends on the status of Zach LaVine. He's a game time decision, and you can't overlook that. So the over under 226.5. I am leaning slightly over, and again, it is dependent upon Josh LaVine. He is the sole make or break for this bet. As a matter of fact, my first prop bet is over 22.5 points for Zach LaVine. He is likely to be the main scorer in this game if he plays, but in the case he's not, we have some other outs. We have Miles Bridges, who I love, in an 8.5 rebound over. I'm expecting him to crash the boards tonight. And then you got Nikola Vucevic, 1.5 threes. All right, he's not your prototypical stretch five, but he's been stretching the floor very well. So I want to ride with him. Just recap, 226.5, leaning slightly over. The Bulls by 5.5, and then LaVine over 22.5 points, Bridges over 8.5 rebounds, and then Vucevic 1.5 threes, all overs. That's what we're going to lean towards. A team that's coming in heavy as a favorite is the New York Knicks. Now the Wizards are underdogs, but they're really pesky. I do feel a little bit nervous about playing the spread, because the other night the Knicks kind of, they knocked me out. All right, I played the spread. It was a heavy spread for them, but they were losing the whole game. I think they ended up losing the game completely. But it's really going to depend on Jalen Brunson. He is questionable, game time decision with sore ankle. Jordan Poole is also nursing. No. Hey, we're leaving it in. Jordan Poole is nursing a hammy. And that's probably going to leave a big bulk of the scoring on Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma can do that. And as a matter of fact, I do like somewhat a points prop for him that I'll mention in just a second. But the Knicks are scoring 117 per game to the Hornets, or to the Wizards 106. Solid road record, 15-7. And the poor Wizards, man, 4-16 at home. And just trending lately, even worse. The Knicks are 8-2 to the Wizards 1-9. 1-9 is pretty bad. So, my main lean here is minus 11.5 for the Knicks. Again, depends on Brunson. 100% depends on Brunson. If Brunson does not play, we do not play this. But if Brunson does end up sitting, I have an alternate. Right now, they're sitting at 231 as an over-under. That's where we're going to go under. If Brunson sits and we get that news, we got to slam that under immediately, because the line will move. He doesn't swing the line quite like a Joel Embiid, but he does swing the line. So let's roll with that. As far as props go, though, somebody who's been really hot from downtown lately has been OG Anunoby, and he's got an over/under of 2.5 3-pointers. I'll take that all day. I'll take that all day, whether or not Brunson plays. He's not gonna move his line at all. So OG over 2.5 threes is one prop lean that I've got. And like I mentioned, Kyle Kuzma over 20.5 points, and he should take a lot of shots tonight with all those injuries. 20.5 is not too much to ask from him. It's very doable. But my favorite prop of the night is actually somebody I've been using a lot lately, and that's Josh Hart. His rebound props have been on fire. And tonight, 9.5 rebounds. Again, not too much to ask. He's a vacuum. He's a dirt devil on the glass. And I like that prop, 9.5. To recap, Knicks minus 11.5, under 231 in the case Brunson sits. And then the props, OG over 2.5 threes, Kuzma over 20.5 points, and then Hart over 9.5 rebounds. Well, Kawhi's out, Zion's out. The Clippers are going to lean hard on Harden. But the Pelicans like to spread. They can spread their scoring around quite a bit. But the Clippers do come in at -7 favorites. and that's kind of where I'm going to stick. -7 favorites for the Clips. The Clips are averaging 115.5 per game. The Pelicans 111.8. Seems a little closer than I think it would be. But the Clips are 11-9 on the road. Pelicans 12-7 at home. Again, that kind of favors the Pelicans. But I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. What I do like is the under. Sitting at 219.5. I'm leaning way under for that. Harden's not the scorer he used to be, but he is running the offense. He's a good facilitator. He's become a better facilitator since his point scoring has dropped over the years. So a prop bet that I like for him is 8.5 over 8.5 assists. But again, the main bet here is Clippers -7. I do like them by 7 points. The only thing that I think could happen is that it gets out of hand and maybe the Pelicans start to cover late. Garbage time points. But again, my safer one is under 219.5. But those props, they look a lot better for me than either of the main bets that I've dropped. Harden over 8.5 assists to facilitate the offense. A high volume shooter that I've liked a lot lately is Trey Murphy, and I've got him over 2.5 threes. That's what I'm looking out for tonight. Trey Murphy over 2.5 threes. That might be my favorite bet of the game. And then one kind of a long shot. I wouldn't put a full unit on this one, but Ivica Zubac over 10.5 rebounds. He's been cleaning up without Zion, and I think he'll continue to do so. I really like the volume shooting capability of the Clips versus Zubac and his ability to rebound. So I could see him grabbing a lot of boards. I could see him getting up to 15. That's just how much I think of his ability to fill in the role of Zion. But those are my favorite bets. But again, this is really dependent upon what Harden's going to do. He's he's had a tendency in the past to just throw ridiculous shots up, and he's just not the guy that he used to be with Houston. Okay, he was putting up 40 points a night. Now it was maybe like 70-point DraftKings nights. I think those nights are kind of beyond him, or behind him now. But I do feel good about what I'm dropping here. And again, we're gonna watch the injury reports. We're gonna watch the final lineup confirmations. But the Clips by 7 and under 219.5, I like that. And then with the props of Harden over 8.5, Murphy over 2.5 threes, and then Zubac over 10.5 rebounds, I wouldn't be afraid to put that into a same game parlay. Got a high total tonight in the Nuggets at Jazz game. It's sitting at 239.5. Now, on most nights, I probably wouldn't feel too good about taking the over. That's actually where I'm going to lean in this one. The Nuggets are favored by 7 against the Jazz. Aaron Gordon's out, so you would think that maybe that would put him maybe with less capability to score such a high rate. And Keontae George is a game time decision as well. But Jokic might absolutely feast in Gordon's absence. Now the Nuggets do score 118.5 per game. The Jazz 113.3. The Nuggets are 14-5 on the road, while the Jazz are 9-11 at home. But they're pretty even over the last 10, 6-4 and 4-6 respectively. Still, I like the lean for the Nuggets -7. But man, don't kill me. But I like the over. I like the over 239.5. I like Jokic to hit 11.5 rebounds. I expect him to dominate tonight. And Michael Porter, man, he's got the green light to shoot. And where I've got him over 2.5 threes, I would not be surprised if he put up some crazy points tonight. He's one of those guys that's kind of feast or famine. And tonight I think he feasts. There's just no way around it. And honestly, Lauri Markkanen, I think he's got the same situation going on. He's the Jazz's go-to guy. And his over-under set at 22.5 points. And I'm going to slam that over. Again, Depends on lineups, depends on injury confirmations. But, man, Markkanen over 22.5, I really like it. Jokic over 11.5 rebounds, I like it a little bit less, but the one I really like, Michael Porter over 2.5 3-pointers. I'm so sick and tired of betting on the Warriors games. They're so up and down, but honestly, I'm getting a lot of love from some bets on a certain player that I normally didn't get in the past, and that's Draymond Green. It might not be the stat that you're thinking of, but let's cover this game. All right, the Cavs are 4.5-point favorites right now. It's a really tight one. It's probably the tightest one on the slate tonight. But we do have injuries to, Isaac Okoro, he's out. Moses Moody, it's a game time decision. But the impact really is going to come from the benches. And it's going to depend on what those depth players are doing tonight. But the Cavs they're scoring 111.7 per game. The Warriors 115.3. Now, the Cavs on the road are 11-8. The Warriors 13-9 at home. But trending over the last 10, both teams are 6-4. It's as cut and dry. It is the closest game on paper tonight, and I really like what this one's looking like. I do want to lean towards the Cavs -4.5, but I just can't count out guys like Steph Curry. I think he's going to keep it close if they don't win. But one thing that I do like is 230.5, and I'm leaning over. I like that. Donovan Mitchell's going to get his points, and I believe we can lock him in for a prop, 24.5 points. He's going to score. He's going to have the scoring load. He's going to have usage rate through the roof. I think this is his game offensively for the Cavs. Now, Steph Curry, his over/under on threes is a little bit high. It's 4.5, but I like it. I'm going to play it. Again, depends on availability, but I like 4.5 threes for Curry. But what I'm going to lock in first and foremost, Draymond Green over 6.5 assists just seems criminally low. I think he could get a double-double. If he can get 10 points, I think you can lock him in for a double-double. That might be one of my, put a tenth of a unit on this bet. But I like Draymond to get 10 and 10 points and assists. Might take his points and assists combo and take the over. But I like Draymond, and I have for the last 2 weeks. I mentioned earlier that Joel Embiid swings the line like nobody else in this slate tonight. And the reason is because he's a game-time decision. He is perpetually a game-time decision. That's just the way that something we got to get used to. Joel Embiid is just Mr. Game-time decision. But the Sixers come in at -5-point favorites. And the total's at 221. Now, that comes with a couple of thoughts. Joel Embiid sitting versus Joel Embiid playing just completely changes the landscape of this game. At 221, if Embiid does not play, you slam that -221. Or you under... If Joel Embiid does not play, you slam that under 221.5. If Joel Embiid does play, you're still going to play under 221.5. I don't think there's any way around this. Listen, Jeremy Grant's a game-time decision. The impact is all Embiid. And if there's nobody in the paint to mess with Embiid, what are you going to do? This game is going to move at a glacier's pace. It's going to be so slow. And, I mean, listen, the Sixers are a better team than the Blazers, but with the pace, there's just not going to be time to get any higher than, -7.5. And I think -5 is, I think it's a good one. I think it's a good bet, but the best bet is under 221.5. I'm going to slam the under no matter what happens. I probably don't even have to wait for lineups. I'm just going to slam the under 221.5. But props that I think you want to be careful of. Tyrese Maxey over 23.5 points. I like that. I don't love it. But what I do love is DeAndre Ayton over 11.5 rebounds. He fights for him. He's so good at crashing the boards. Listen, when he was in Phoenix, he could score. He had a high versatility index. But, here in Portland, he's crashing the boards. And 11.5 rebounds to me seems like a low number. He'll out-rebound Embiid. He'll out-rebound anybody on the roster. Ayton's my guy, over 11.5 rebounds. I really like that bet. The last game of the night, Mavericks at Kings. And, the up pace for the Kings is right up Kyrie Irving's alley. And that's why I'm going to lean towards a couple of things revolving around Kyrie. Right now, the Kings are minus 3.5 favorites. That total, though, is at 230.5. And that is with Luka out. Now, Luka's going to be out for a while. Derek Lively is a game time decision as of right now. But the impact there is that Kyrie is going to be the absolute guy. Heavy usage, heavy load. He's going to be the primary scorer. Honestly, I don't see any way around him not getting 27.5 points like he has the last few nights. And I've taken those, and we've hit those. But my heavy lean is going to be Kings by 3.5 and leaning over 230.5. However, there's a dark horse in there. Not just Kyrie. He's not the only guy that's worth looking at. Also, Domantas Sabonis. I really like Sabonis over 12.5 rebounds. Now, I don't like him as much as some of the previously mentioned guys. I don't think that there's a ceiling that much higher, but I do think he gets 12.5. We just need to sit. We need to sit on this one. We need to wait for injuries. We need to wait for confirmed lineups, and maybe even looked at the projected minutes. I know he's been playing a lot of minutes, as does everybody, but Sabonis is one of those guys where he starts playing heavy minutes and then they back off of that. So let's see what they end up doing with him. If Sabonis plays his full 32 minutes, 12.5 rebounds is not out of the question. It's actually slightly low. I see him getting 15. Again, the ceiling's not too high, but the floor is pretty high, and I like Sabonis in this spot. So to recap, over 230.5, Kings by 3.5, Kyrie over 27 points, and Sabonis over 12.5 rebounds. Now, that is going to do it for today's morning moneyline monsters at Slasher Sports. Now, some really important things to say here are, we want you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your favorite bets and put the notifications on, but it's really important that we let you know to bet what you're willing to lose. Never bet more than you're willing to lose. We're here to have fun. We don't want this to be a chore. We don't want there to be any desperation, and we're not hunting any white whales. So all we really want you to do is go out there, have fun, and may you drink the blood of your enemies from the skulls of their children. Let's rate.